What exactly is a high note? What ingredients do you need to play high notes? How can you develop them with a beautiful and resonant sound? In today's video, I'm going to share my 3 essential tips for successful high note development. Welcome to the Trumpet Prof channel, bringing you trumpet education at a much higher level. I'm Paul Mays, and this channel is for advanced players and teachers looking for a deeper understanding of the trumpet and how to take their playing to the next level. You'll find tutorials and lectures on a whole range of trumpet related topics, so please consider subscribing, but also get involved with the channel. Leave me a question or a comment or any thoughts that you have about these videos, because that way we can really focus on helping you play the way you really want to play. Okay, let's get into the video. Now, when I talk about high notes, I don't mean this. I mean this. They should be an extension of what you already do and what you already believe. Sound, flexibility, articulation. All of those things you mustn't sacrifice just for the sake of playing high. High register development, if done the right way, is going to give you far more than just high notes. And that fundamentally is why, for me, they are so important. Some might say, well, what's the point? You're never going to play up there anyway. Well, the point is they're going to improve your control, your efficiency, your stamina, your confidence. For you to develop a really successful high register, the first thing you need is the potential to play high. And this is something that is really important and something that I don't think is considered or thought about very much by players and teachers. So what do I mean by giving you the potential to play high? Well, if you were going to grow some plants in your garden, you would go down to the garden centre, buy some seeds, come home, plant those seeds. But we know that that isn't going to guarantee that those seeds will flourish, that they will turn into anything, because we know we need the right climate, we need the right type of soil, you need the right preparation. So the environment has to be right. Now, think of your high note technique as a seed, something that you plant in an environment. Is that environment set up for success? So today's video is all about giving you the potential to play high. So my 3 essential tips are: number 1, sigh. When you deliver the air through the instrument, just sigh. My second tip is keep your top lip relaxed as much as you can, as often as you can. My third tip is embrace air pressure. Not airflow, not air volume, air pressure. So the sigh, just take in a full breath and sigh out the air. This is a really relaxing thing to do. It's a very neutral way of taking the air in and blowing the air out. But I wonder how many of you cluttered that up a little bit. I wonder if anyone went like this when they took the air in. What you'll notice about the sigh is it doesn't engage any other muscular activity except for the muscles that are required to draw the air in and sigh the air out. There isn't any muscle contraction or activity in your face. There isn't anything in your throat. Everything is just very neutral as far as drawing air in and blowing air out. Just try it again. Be aware of the sensation in your face and in your throat. Make sure that it's not triggering any unnecessary responses. So let's try that on the instrument now. Just play a long note, a middle G, low C, it doesn't matter what it is, and play the way that you normally play to begin with, especially for the first couple of beats. Just get the note going, and then see if you can transition what you're doing into a sigh, being really aware of the sensations. Are there any changes? Can you feel the difference between what you do and then when you start to sigh through the instrument? It's that awareness that is so important. Once you've done it that way, then you can try starting the note by sighing. So you get used to that drawing the air in, sighing the air out. And once you've done that, start to move up your register. Just start to play across the middle register. I wouldn't go too high to begin with, because chances are you're not going to have enough resistance to get up there. It's more of a sensation thing, just that feel of sighing through the instrument. Another good way to practice this, or at least to get the sensation of what we're after, is play a long note on your instrument and then all of a sudden freeze, stop blowing, take your instrument off, and then with the shape of your embouchure maintained, set, just sigh through that shape. Sigh through the shape of your embouchure. I haven't got my instrument mic on at the moment, so this might be a little bit loud, but I'll show you what I mean. But we'll just play a long note. And then sigh. So we can really feel these exhalation muscles working. But again, the only activity on your face is, for you, a natural one, because you're maintaining the shape of your embouchure. Tip number 2, top lip relaxed. You need to keep your top lip as relaxed as you possibly can, as often as you possibly can. And this is the way I think about high notes, and it may be slightly different to how you think about them. And this really helped me to develop some of my techniques and systems. I think about a high note as a number. I don't think about a high note as a pitch. Now, your top lip needs to be relaxed because it needs to move incredibly fast. Much, much faster than the other brass instruments, because we play so much higher. So, for a top C, for instance, your lip needs to move approximately 1,000 times a second. 1,000 times a second. Anything that moves 1,000 times a second has to have the potential to move 1,000 times a second. It needs to be free to vibrate. It needs to be relaxed. It needs to be uncluttered. So, is your lip free to vibrate? Is your lip relaxed when you play? These are the things that you can think about. It doesn't matter how you play right now, but do you have the potential for your lip to move freely 1,000 times a second? So, if you do a lot of lip buzzing or mouthpiece buzzing, just think about the amount of tension in your face when you do that. Could you free that up? If you can free that up, then your lip has more potential, greater potential for moving faster. In order to access a double high C, your lips need to move 2,000 times a second. Actually, it's 1,864, but it's double the speed they need to move for a top C. So when you think of it in terms of a number, high note as a number, then you can think, hang on a minute, can my lip really vibrate that fast? Is what I'm doing, is my technique allowing my lip to move that fast? Also consider the space between your lips. And if you can, try to experiment with opening that space up to different degrees. Having your lips together before you initiate the sound is not an efficient way of playing, and is definitely going to slow your lips down when you need them to accelerate up to 1,000 times a second. Here's an exercise that will tell you how efficiently you're playing right now. And it's a really good indication of whether these techniques are working for you, how much they're working for you. So what you need to do is just loosen your mouthpiece a little bit and then play a middle G and play it at a good dynamic, a good healthy forte. And while you're playing, pull the trumpet off of your mouthpiece and be aware of what happens to the pitch. Now, what we're after is for the pitch to go up. It doesn't matter how much it ascends, but we do want it to go higher without your involvement. All you do is just sigh through the instrument. Now, as you go on with these techniques and you start to put them together, then we're trying to get that pitch to rise higher and higher and higher each time. I'll show you what happens when I do the exercise, but I don't want you to try to get close to what I'm doing. It's really an indication of where you are at the moment. And I've been working at this for a very long time. I've been working on my playing and trying to become more efficient for many, many years. But here's an example of what happens when I do that particular exercise. So we'll start on the G. Now C. Now an E. G. Now you could hear that one was the first one where the pitch came down. So why did it always go to the same note? Well, it always went to that note, which is the fundamental of the mouthpiece. My lips were so relaxed that they were drawn to the natural note of this particular length of tubing. So tip number 3 is air pressure. Now this is a controversial one because it goes against the grain of conventional thinking. But I do want to touch on that because if you make a comparison, let's say, between the trumpet and the tuba, everything is opposite. The trumpet is small, the tuba is big. The trumpet is light, tuba is heavy. The trumpet plays high, the tuba plays low. You can go on and on and on with that until we get to the amount of air that you use or the way you use your air to play those instruments. All of a sudden, things become the same. You have to put more air down the tuba. You have to put more air down the trumpet. That doesn't make sense to me. Now, I know that I'm generalizing there, but people take things in a very kind of general way. So let's not cloud the issues here. Let's get down to the facts. The trumpet needs high air pressure. High air pressure, you can only achieve high air pressure if there is a low flow rate. The tuba has a high flow rate and it plays at low pressure. So the two are completely different. It's a good comparison to make. So I've got an exercise for you which will allow you to be aware of how effective your air pressure is or how much you're using air pressure. So grab your instrument and play a middle G. And all you're going to do is play your middle G and start to blow faster. Now, two things can happen here. Number one, the sound will get louder, or number two, the pitch will go higher. It will be one or the other. And that's based on the level of your resistance as well as a few other things. So I'm going to demonstrate that exercise now, just so you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, but also so you can hear what happens when I do the exercise. So I'm going to start on a middle G. Now I try it on the C. E. Each time you can hear the note kicks up to the next harmonic. So what happened when you did the exercise? Now, I'm just guessing here, but it's based on the most common outcome, the most likely outcome, is that you got louder. So why did one thing happen when I did the exercise and a different thing happen, different result when you did the exercise? Well, that all comes down to resistance. And I play with a very high level of resistance. Even on low notes, my resistance is much greater. My air pressure for low notes is probably much, much higher than yours. So when I really kick the air, when I generate more air pressure, I immediately just fly up the register. I'll start from a low note and I'll just kick the air really, really fast. And just listen to what happens. Now, I didn't do very much there at all. I'll just do it again. When I watch that back, I will probably see some movement in my face. But the movement is not me closing down the aperture in order to go high. The movement is the muscles contracting because the air pressure becomes so great, I don't want my lips to collapse. So there is a little bit of muscular activity in order to hold that air and stop it from just kind of collapsing my embouchure. So what you need to do is focus on your resistance. And it's really important that you know where your resistance is coming from. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the lips. And in fact, the most efficient way is for it not to come from the lips, but that's for another time. We just want to get into the habit of these three basic techniques in order to give you the potential to play high. So focus on your resistance and where it's coming from, and try to maintain it when you go low. So maybe you can play up a scale, and as you get fairly high, up to a B flat or a C, try to maintain that level of resistance then as you descend. So if I do that, this is what happens. Don't worry about the quality of the sound to begin with. We're trying to encourage a certain way of doing things, a certain way of using the muscles. Just be very, very aware of the sensations and see if you can get a similar result. So focus on air pressure. And as long as you're doing it with the sigh, then you're not going to do yourself any harm. Yes, there is a lot of tension inside the body, but you're not going to get your lips to move between 1,000 and 2,000 times a second unless you're putting in a pretty heavy workload. You need to develop strength. We'll talk about developing strength another time. But for now, just try to get used to the concept of sighing, keeping your top lip relaxed, and generating air pressure with resistance. So I hope you've enjoyed the video today. Thanks very much for watching. If you've got any thoughts or comments or questions, please leave them below, because that way I can even make another video based on today's topic which directly responds to your feedback. See you next time.